47mm anti-tank gun was the main anti-tank gun of the Imperial Japanese Army in the latter part of World War II. Due to Japan's insufficient technological capacity, the developed 75mm and 105mm anti-tank guns could not go into mass production of high-pressure long barrels, and therefore could not be service-ready before the end of the war. Thus, this model became the last standard anti-tank gun of the Imperial Japanese Army. Approximately 2,300 units were produced before the end of World War II. The first standard anti-tank gun of the Imperial Japanese Army was the Type 94 anti-tank gun produced in Showa 9, 1934. However, due to limitations in metal materials and shell charges, the armor-piercing effectiveness of Japanese anti-tank guns was significantly poor compared to foreign products of the same caliber at that time. Although frontline units voiced criticism of this anti-armor weapon, the High Command was not very proactive about replacing it, as the main enemy faced by the Japanese Army was on the Chinese battlefield, where the threat from armored units was virtually non-existent. Although a new anti-tank gun was not mass-produced, the Army continued to try to manufacture a more powerful anti-tank gun than the Type 94. In addition to increasing the charge of existing shells, new types of armor-piercing rounds and larger caliber anti-tank guns were also under development, culminating in the design of the prototype Type 97 47mm rapid-fire gun completed in Showa 12, 1937. The experimental gun had a caliber of 47mm, a barrel length of 2,515mm, an initial velocity of 730 meters per second, and a weight of 567 kilograms. After being completed in March 1938, it underwent manpower and horse-drawn towing tests in October of the same year, and the firing table was measured in November. Under the guidance of a mechanized towing policy, the development unit modified the prototype Type 97's gun mount in April 1939 to accommodate mechanized towing design, completing the design in October. In the same year, the Namenhan incident broke out, where the Japanese Type 97 anti-tank gun achieved good results against the main Soviet tanks, the BT tank and the T-26 light tank. However, Japan did not understand the actual intentions of the Soviet military until after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in the 1990s. At that time, infantry heavily used Molotov cocktails in close combat to counter Soviet tanks, but the harsh reality of defeat showed that the Japanese field forces found it difficult to resist the Soviet armored offensive. After this campaign, the Japanese military leadership recognized the necessity of a new type of anti-tank gun. Based on the prototype of the Type 97 anti-tank gun, they also referenced the design of the 47mm anti-tank gun produced in Italy and the 45mm anti-tank gun from the Soviet Union, which had been captured from China. In September 1939, Showa Year 14, the design of the new anti-tank gun began, and preparations for mass production started in 1941, Showa Year 16. It was officially distributed in May 1942 and was named in line with previous equipment, following the Imperial Year system. 1941 equals Imperial Year 2601, hence it was named Type 1 Mobile 47mm gun. The Type 1 anti-tank gun, like the Type 94 anti-tank gun, uses an open-legged carriage. However, unlike the previous Type 94 anti-tank gun, it was designed to abandon animal-drawn transport and instead adopted vehicle towing. Thus, it features rubber tires and specifically adds the term mobile in its name to distinguish it from earlier equipment. The towed artillery can be pulled by the Type 94 truck or the Type 98 armored tractor, which are commonly equipped by general troops. In addition to armor-piercing rounds, it is also equipped with grenades for engaging soft targets like infantry when necessary. In addition to the towed version, the Japanese Army also mounted this gun on the Type 97 medium tank and the Type 1 medium tank. However, because the fighting compartment could not accommodate the longer recoil stroke, the gun's barrel was shortened to a 49 caliber length to resolve the issue, and this model is referred to as the Type 1 47mm tank gun. As a trade-off, the firing velocity of the vehicle-mounted version decreased, resulting in lower armor-piercing capability compared to the towed version. In shooting experiments, the Type 1 armor-piercing shell successfully penetrated the frontal armor of the M3/M5 Stuart tank at a distance of 1,000 meters. This achievement greatly encouraged the designers of the time, as it represented the first effective anti-tank gun the Japanese military had against enemy armored forces. However, when the Type 1 anti-tank gun was actually deployed in combat, the main Allied tanks had already transitioned to the M4 medium tank. The armor-piercing capability of the Type 1 anti-tank gun struggled against the frontal armor of this new tank. Moreover, in response to battlefield needs, Allied tanks also utilized materials such as wood for temporary additional armor, which effectively reduced the damage effect of the armor-piercing shells. Theoretically, the Type 1 armor-piercing round could penetrate the hull armor of the M4A3 at 500 yards, approximately 457.2 meters, but considering the deflection effects of sloped armor and the quality of Japanese equipment, the actual usage was mostly in hidden half-underground positions. They would wait for the tank to pass before shooting at the sides or the tracks to effectively destroy it. In actual combat, reports retained by the Japanese military indicated that the primary firing range of the Type 1 anti-tank gun was still within 150 to 200 yards, within 180 meters, to ensure penetration. The performance of the Type 1 anti-tank gun was constrained by the inadequate metallurgical technology of the ammunition. Japan's anti-tank shells were still made from high-carbon steel, while European and American countries were using higher-hardness tungsten-chromium alloy steel. It wasn't until the latter part of the war that Japan developed the special armor rounds made from tungsten-chromium alloy steel similar to those of the British and Americans, as well as special Type B rounds made from nickel-chromium alloy steel, and began mass-producing higher-quality Type 4 armor-piercing shells. However, by the time Japan was defeated, only 5,000 finished Type 4 armor-piercing shells and 30,000 semi-finished shells had been produced, with almost none being distributed to the front lines. After September 1942, the Type 97 anti-tank guns began to be distributed to each army's independent artillery battalions, mainly for specialized anti-tank missions. The independent artillery battalions were directly under the command of the army, consisting of 3 squadrons, with each squadron equipped with 4 to 6 field guns. Each army would receive at least 12 Type 97 anti-tank guns, although some units experienced delays in distribution, leading to situations where both the Type 94 anti-tank guns and the Type 97 anti-tank guns were used together. In addition to the standard 47mm model, the Japanese Army developed a scaled-up 57mm version after 1941, called the Prototype Mobile 57mm Rapid-Fire Gun, with specifications of 57 caliber, 3,255mm, a firing velocity of 870 meters per second, and a range of 8,000 meters. The prototype was completed in July 1942 and tested in February 1943. However, the gun was too heavy, standard weight 1,080 kilograms, combat weight 1,540 kilograms, and its armor-piercing capability was not ideal. Additionally, at that time, the Japanese Army had not yet engaged with the Allies' new tanks, leading to a misjudgment of the situation. After evaluation, the Japanese Army believed they could not compete with Allied armored units, and the development plan was terminated in June 1943.